Hi, my name is Dr. Film, and yes, I am a qualified physician. Now, who needs fixin'? I'm just playing.
What?
Before we begin, you should know that this review will contain no spoilers. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe for reviews and more. And you should also know that the movie I'm reviewing is rated R, so viewer discretion is advised. And so, without further ado, let us begin reviewing Deadpool and Wolverine.
Cast and characters.
You know who I'm gonna talk about first. You guessed it, Deadpool. And he was still as idiotic, beautiful, and charming as you remember. I'm serious, this actor did a wonderful job bringing back that same lovable charisma even when Disney has the rights to this character, to this movie. And he's not gonna change for anybody, let alone Disney.
Is that supposed to be scary? Pegging isn't new for me, friendo, but it is for Disney.
Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Wolverine, played once again by Hugh Jackman.
Huge Ackman?
No, Hugh Jackman.
Huge Ackman?
Hugh, not huge.
Huge.
Oh, just Anyways, as I was saying, Hugh Jackman's performance as Wolverine was freaking raw and powerful. I'm serious, there was not one scene where his performance felt lazy or out of place. He really did give it his all in this movie. And no, in case you're wondering, this isn't the same character from Logan, which we'll touch upon later in this review. And as for our main villain, Cassandra Nova, she was okay.
And?
Yeah, she's still okay. Now, I'm not suggesting the actress was terrible in this movie, nothing like that. She did her part well, and there are some moments where a character can be quite intimidating, but if I'm being honest here, this villain is overall just a plot device. Of course, there was this other villain named Paradox, but he's honestly no better, that's for sure. As for the rest of the cast, each of them did a solid job with their roles, especially Laura, played once again by Daphne Keane, and she was perfect. Just perfect. Although I did wish we had more screen time with her, but just perfect.
Action and CGI.
The action sequences were creative, engaging, exhilarating, and gnarly as heck. And personally, one of my favorite action scenes from the movie was the opening credits scene with Deadpool. I don't want to reveal any spoilers, but man, it was just magical and bloody at the same time. And as for the effects, the CGI in this movie looks pretty spectacular. Now yes, there are moments during the movie where the CGI can look pretty cartoony, but in all fairness, the movie's CGI still looks pretty marvelous, especially when you compare it to this movie's CGI effects. Floating CGI babies. Whose idea was this?
The story.
The story was engaging, it was awesome to see Deadpool on another grand adventure, and the story does well showing us how Deadpool and Wolverine got together. And on the plus side, the story did not interfere, nor did it connect to the Wolverine character that we know from Logan. Yes! But the story as a whole, it has some problems. For one, the pacing felt all over the place. It barely had a 3-act structure. Most of the dialogue in this movie was through expositions. And last but certainly not least, the story barely developed Deadpool's character arc throughout this movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, the movie does establish in the very beginning what he's going through, but that part of the story gets sidelined when we see Deadpool suddenly thrust into the multiverse of madness. Because the story spent so much time juggling so many characters, so many subplots, that it barely had time to develop Deadpool's personal journey to its full extent. But the film makes up for it with its final act, more specifically the ending, which I thought was pretty wholesome and sweet. So to sum up, my friends, the story can be wild, fun, and investing, but it can also be vague and a bit of a mess. Oh! Hey? Language.
Jinx, you owe me a soda!
Overall, my friends, this movie is, well, I don't know how to say this, but this movie saved the freaking MCU! Now, I'm not gonna lie, when going into this, I was nervous up to my neck that this movie was going to fail or worse. But to my surprise, this movie stayed true to what made Deadpool so special. From the characters, the humor, the action, the special effects, the costume designs, all of it worked so well. But on the other hand, this movie does have a few shares of its problems. And all of it really comes down to the script of this movie. And even though this movie isn't exactly as strong as the previous Deadpool movies, I still think it was an enjoyable, awesome experience, despite its issues. And when you really get down to it, this movie isn't some way for Deadpool to get into the MCU. It's more than that. It's a love letter to all Marvel fans, the OG Marvel fans. And it really is a great goodbye to all the Marvel movies that came before the MCU. And let's be honest here, without these movies, the MCU wouldn't exist. Period. So I really enjoyed this movie. Does it have flaws? Sure. Does it live up to the hype? Let me think. Yes! So with all that said, I give Deadpool and Wolverine an 8.5 out of 10. Woo! That's it. That's the end of my review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like. And please follow me on TikTok for more fun videos and content. And as always, I will see you guys at our next appointment.